I think maybe the underlying issue oftentimes for people that struggle with this whole like, should I be asking for compensation or more money is maybe part of it is this whole how do they view money or what's the purpose of money to them? I think, you can think of some people see it as like the root of all evil. That's one extreme of the example, or I don't deserve anymore, or I'm okay with what I have. But on the other side of the coin is like money is a tool to advance whatever purpose or mission you have. And if you're using it for the right purpose or mission, it's completely the opposite of evil. It's actually your tool for good. It seems like you've adopted everything you're saying embodies that last principle. And I think that's super important to get out there is once you see it that way, you're like asking for compensation, more compensation for XYZ job that they're not really paying me for. That's going to allow me to, whether it's save the money to go focus on a mission project or like work less in the future to have time to go advocate for something or whatever. The sky's the limit. You can redirect that to a good solid purpose, but you have to get that foundation down.
Absolutely. And I think, the way, because money is always an icky topic, right? We're not supposed to talk money. We're not supposed to share salaries. We're not supposed to do that. That's just wrong, right? I beg to differ on that. I think pay transparency is key because there's a wage gap in healthcare. There's a wage gap in the country. It's not a question, it's a fact. And the part of the reason that women are getting paid less, and especially women of color are getting paid even less, is because there hasn't been pay transparency. So I think that I can't leave your podcast or a financial podcast. I can't leave it without mentioning
Yeah.
that. But I think that the thing that is so important and the thing that was hard for me, because I used to have trouble asking for money. If I get offered an opportunity to speak, I used to feel uncomfortable asking, is there an honorarium or what is the honorarium? But Dr. Kimberly Manning actually talked to me about this one day and she said, you know what? Your time is valuable. It's not that you're asking for money because you're greedy. You are just saying that you are valuable and the content you are putting out there is valuable and the work you do is valuable and they should value that. If they are asking you to do something and they're asking you to do it for free, then they don't value what you're doing as much as they should. And that being said, I don't want to say I only do things for money because I go on podcasts for free sometimes. I give speaking talks for free sometimes. It depends on who's asking, right? If a group of med students say, can you come talk to us about what it's like to be a hemonc doctor? I'm not going to say, yes, how much are you going to pay me? But if somebody's asking me to come speak at a conference or speak to their organization and I feel that I should be paid for it, then I will ask,
Mhm.
what honorarium are you offering? And again, it's not because I'm greedy. It's not because I feel like I deserve to be paid. It's the work I do, the stuff that I put out there, me as a human being, I have value. And by me agreeing to do something, I am taking away time from something else. And then what I decide to do with that money is up to me. If I
Mhm.
decide to use it to go on vacation, great. That's my own self care. If I decide to do it to put into the Women in Medicine nonprofit to help advance that mission, great. At the end of the day, I think women are often told that we should not be asking for money because it's not polite. And I still sometimes feel icky sending emails saying, how much is the honorarium? But I'm trying to get past that because we are setting the standard for the people who come behind us. And for too many years, physicians have been doing free work. We do things uncompensated all the time. I worked in New Zealand for a while as a locums physician between residency and fellowship, and my husband and I were shocked. We would get paid every time we called the hospital to answer a page. We would get paid every time we went into the hospital to see a patient. This was
Mhm.
on top of our base salary. There's ways to provide compensation for the value that we provide. And obviously, most physicians get paid well, depending on the specialty you're in. Some physicians get paid very well. But there's also a lot of time and energy and training and debt that goes into becoming a physician.
Mhm.
We sacrifice a lot to get to this position in our lives. And I don't think it's wrong to ask for compensation when you're doing work. You wouldn't ask a plumber to come to your house and fix the plumbing for free because it's only a 15-minute project. They still charge you. So, as physicians, I think we really need to start thinking more about the value of what we're providing and how it should be compensated. And the compensation, again, it doesn't have to be monetary. I've been compensated before where, at work, sometimes I take on a position. I'm like, I need protected time for this, or I need an administrative assistant, or I need X amount of CME dollars. The compensation doesn't have to be financial. It can come in other ways. But we need to stop undervaluing ourselves because if we undervalue ourselves, there's no reason for other people to value us.
Have you ever struggled with I think everybody struggled with this at some point in their life, but like the whole "I'm not good enough, I'm valuable enough," imposter syndrome, I think is what they would call that. So that's a little bit of a different flavor. Maybe I'm not good enough to ask for X, Y, especially like with speaking. That's a hard one because it's like
Yep.
0 to unlimited. So
Yep.
you're like, how do I, what am I worth? And it's a tricky thing. And most people lean towards low and
They
not.
do. They do. And so actually, I'm going to make 2 points about what you just said. So one, we actually launched the Women in Medicine Speakers Bureau specifically to help with this. So you can join our Speakers Bureau because we help figure out how much you should be getting paid. You can sit and we help you navigate that and make it less uncomfortable for you because if you don't want to navigate it, we can email the people and say, this is how much they charge. So that's one way to do that. Talking about imposter syndrome or imposter phenomenon, so that concept was actually introduced by Dr. Pauline Clance and Dr. Suzanne Imes. And Dr. Clance actually was one of our keynote addresses at our first Women in Medicine Summit back in 2019. So I met her and she said, it's actually not a syndrome. When we coined this term, we called it imposter phenomenon for a reason, because making it a syndrome makes it sound like there's something wrong with you. I actually published a paper with Dr. Clance and Dr. Kelly Cockett on the imposter phenomenon, implicit bias, burnout cycle that happens because very high achieving women often have very high levels of feelings of feeling like an imposter. And then when you have all this implicit bias beating you down, saying you're not good enough, you're not getting this leadership opportunity, you're not getting this award. So you've got external validation of your imposter phenomenon telling you're not good enough. All of this then leads into this endless cycle of burnout because you already feel like you're not good enough. And then the world is telling you you're not good enough. So obviously you're going to leave medicine, which is what we're seeing. I have struggled with it a lot. I struggle with it every day. I mean, every time I get an invitation to do something, I'm like, why are they asking me? Every single time without fail. It, it's it's really funny sometimes because I'll get an invitation and I'll tell someone, I can't believe I got invited to do this. They're like, what are you talking about? You're the perfect person for this. And I'm like, no, I'm totally not. I don't have X, Y, and Z. And then I need that external validation of someone to like actually tell me, no, you are totally appropriate for this. So I think we all struggle with it. I personally feel like it keeps me humble and it makes me better because what I do when I get those imposter feelings is I think, okay, why am I feeling this way? Am I actually somebody who is not an expert in this? Or do I need to read more before I go on to do this? I ask other people, am I the right person for this? And then I use it to make myself better. So I'll say, all right, this is where I'm feeling like I'm not good enough because of X, Y, and Z reason. Is some of this just in my head? Okay, if it's in my head, then I'm going to put that in this box. Is it because I actually need to do more or learn more? Okay, then I'm going to focus on making myself better in that avenue. And then I'm going to go for it. There's this joke I give in my talks, which is if there's 10 criteria that you need to fulfill in order to put your name in the hat for some opportunity, women will often wait until they fulfill 15 of the criteria. And men will often wait until they fulfill 3 because I've seen it happen anecdotally. And again, this is not all men. I don't want to get a bunch of comments where people are like, oh, she's sexist against men because I'm not. Men suffer with this as well. But it's been studied that women have even more higher levels of imposter phenomenon and imposter syndrome because of a variety of reasons. And it's usually very high achieving women. And it's because, again, not only because they have this internal dialogue, but then they have this external dialogue from other people telling them, you should be having a baby. Why did you have children? What do you mean you're taking maternity leave? What do you mean you're not taking maternity leave? It's like you can never win. To answer your question, yes, it exists. The way that I utilize my imposter phenomenon is I use it to try to make myself better. And I have to put this out there because I don't want people to think that I'm a man hating woman. I have gotten to where I am today because I've had amazing male allies and sponsors who have gotten me to the point I am in my career. We actually created an inclusive leadership longitudinal programming for men because I've had so many men who've done so much for me in my career and who continue to do so much for other people that I feel like these are skills that you can learn to really work towards elevating everybody, no matter what your gender is. I think we should all be in this together and we should be helping each other rise up together because it leads to better organizations. It leads to better happiness in the workplace and it leads to better outcomes for our patients at the end of the day. So this is something, this is not an us versus them situation. This is
Mhm.
a everyone should be working towards this together because whether it directly impacts you or not, it really at the end of the day has a huge impact on all of us.